My name is Dr. Nicole Pruitt, and I serve as the Director of Programs and Partnerships for Community Engagement within the Center for Community-Based Partnerships. I also have the honor of serving as the Employee Campaign Chairperson for the University of Alabama's United Way campaign. I want to thank each of you for joining our call today. The importance of the UA campaign is so important to the United Way of West Alabama. The kind and the caring spirit of the UA family and the success of previous UA campaigns, and the fact that UA is the number one employee campaign in the SEC, but just the role of all of you as our campus coordinators and the kind spirit that you bring to this campaign has made all the difference. We are recording today's meeting, so if you would prefer to not have your video or your audio show, we'd like to request that you mute those at this time. We are recording this just in case coordinators have a scheduling conflict and will need the recording later. Today's agenda will include all of the information relevant to you as level 1 and 2 coordinators. We will also provide this recording to you as a resource to assist you throughout the campaign. Your role as coordinators it's vital. It's so important. The success of this campaign and your willingness to serve are really the essential parts. This is a year when our needs and our challenges are the greatest, and we would like to share information about the UA Core United Way Planning Team members and their commitment to this campaign over the years. It has just played an instrumental role in helping this campaign be a success. So I want to thank Dean Mark Nelson and the College of Communication and Information Sciences for their willingness to host the campaign this year. It's interesting to note that the last time this college hosted our campaign was just after the April 27th, 2011 tornado. So some of you may remember if you were a campus coordinator at that time. They just seemed to be built to host the campaign in the most difficult times. On the screen in front of you, you'll see those members of the planning team, and you'll hear from some of those members today. President Bell has set our UA goal at $400,000 this year. And CCIS has selected Tide United, Let Kindness Be Your Story as our 2020 campaign theme. How appropriate. A theme for a college whose mission is built on the importance of communication and sharing information. With that being said, and if you're just joining us, we are recording our session, and if you would like to mute your audio and or video, please feel free to do so. We're recording as a resource for you as coordinators later. With that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce the 2020 UA United Way co-chairs from CCIS, Ms. Lynn Brooks and Dr. Adam Brooks. First, Ms. Lynn Brooks. Lynn?
Hi there, and thank you so much. It's great to see everybody. You know, it's such an honor and such a privilege to serve in this capacity, and I want to first thank Dean Nelson for inviting me to have this opportunity to serve. Our college obviously focuses on communication and sharing information, and that's more critical than ever, especially with this year's United Way campaign. You mentioned that April 27th tornado, and I I certainly remember covering that day after day and how critical it was for our community to come together during that time. So I'm especially honored to serve this year. And on a personal note, in my capacity here as a local news anchor, I get a chance to see firsthand for the past 20 years the work that United Way does in our community. Temporary emergency services, for example, especially during this pandemic, I've seen how they help local people get their most basic needs met and how they love people and care for people day after day. And speaking of caring for people, wow, Caring Days, that's another agency. They serve local adults who are dealing with dementia, and I'm the caregiver for my mother who is living with dementia. So just two examples of how the United Way is critical here in our community. And it's just such a pleasure and an honor to promote this message, not only here at the University of Alabama, which we will of course be doing and rallying hard every single day, but also for viewers all across our viewing area. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We will now hear from our Dr. Adam Brooks.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I know how fun it is to log into a Zoom and be able to judge everyone's backgrounds and blind choices. So I appreciate all of you being here with us for then. You know, I think about recently we hit the 6-month mark of what I believe to be the 6 months of March that we've all been living through. And while that has been some of the most disruptive and discouraging times, I think it's also been transformative. And in every element of our lives, we've had to think differently about the things we take for granted. And I don't know about you, but I have realized some things that I took for granted in my life. It's made me reconnect with my family. It's made me reconnect with the people and the organizations that I think are most important. And one of the things that I think that I have found that I took for granted most is the community that we have and how organic some of those things were. And now more than ever, we're relying on intentional community. We're having to create that for ourselves. We're having to set up Zoom calls with the people that we love. We're having to make sure that we touch base on the people that we need to touch base with. But that element of community happens through a lot of logistics. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited and honored to be a part of this campaign. When they asked our college to be part of this, they asked us to think of, well, what's unique about your college that can express the sentiments of the United Way? When I think about that idea that the College of Communication and Information Sciences has always been, to some extent, about stories, how to tell the stories that you're having. And for you as coordinators, learning how to tell the story of how United Way impacts your life and the lives of those around you, I think is so vital. But also making sure that the stories of those who need to be told get heard through things like WVUA. But more than ever, I think what we're craving now is kindness. We're craving kindness from one another and the communities that we live. And I think the United Way and its many agencies, everything from 211 to the Arc of Tuscaloosa, provides that element to create that kindness. So we are so excited for you to let kindness be your story and the stories that you're telling that can make this campaign so successful. Because we know that we're asking a lot from people who are already almost dry. But I think about the impact that we have when we can create that sense of community together now more than ever, and it feels really re-energizing and restorative.
Thank you so very much, Lynn and Adam. We are so honored for you to serve as co-chairs. We thank you for your leadership, and we look forward to working with you throughout our campaign. As our co-chairs mentioned, your role as campus coordinators is so important. And so we wanted to share some highlights related to your roles for the 2020 UA United Way campaign. The success of our campaign over the years is directly attributed to the caring spirit of our coordinators. You embody that spirit, and you will represent the campaign throughout the campus. Your role as level 1 or level 2 coordinators will be highlighted in this portion of the meeting. But think about this, you provide a critical link between our UA employees and the United Way campus leadership team and the United Way of West Alabama. Because some portions of the campaign will be conducted virtually and involve the use of an online contribution system for the first time this year, Your ability to share, help us share information and updates over the duration of the campaign will be critical to our success. So we need your enthusiasm for strengthening our community through giving. That's essential. And motivating your other colleagues to participate. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. So whether this is your first time as a coordinator or you have organized your unit's campaign multiple times, we thank you for volunteering to be a part of this, and together, united, we can inspire hope and create opportunities for a better tomorrow. If you're on today's call and you are a level 1 coordinator, you serve as a member of the campus leadership planning team. You've provided the appointments related to our level 2 coordinators. You share information, encourage, support our level 2 coordinators, and you participate in our campus leadership planning teams as appropriate. You also have the responsibility of participating in our campus virtual kickoff. That's a week from today, October 8th, Thursday, October 8th at 2 p.m. Additional information will be forthcoming about that virtual kickoff, but go ahead and mark your calendars for that really important date. And finally, you participate in our celebration, which will be held on Thursday, November 19th at 2 p.m. So this is a good time to just mark both of those dates for our level 1 coordinators. If you are a level 2 coordinator, you provide leadership for the employees within your unit. This is sharing information by email, by social media, really encouraging their participation in the campaign. The information will be provided by level 1 coordinators and the campus leadership planning team. So you're not going to have to worry about developing those items that you're sending out. We'll be generating that information for you. Perhaps your unit wants to schedule your own individual meeting with employees in your unit about the campaign. You can certainly set that up. Maybe you choose to have a speaker from one of the United Way agencies. One of our colleagues on the line from the United Way, Monique Scott, will serve as a resource to us if we're connecting with the agencies or if we want to incorporate Monique into our presentations. As level 2 coordinators, we would also like for you to participate in campus coordinator meetings. So for example, today, as well as to attend the kickoff and the final celebration. So now that you've heard all of that, I want to intentionally pause and ask you for feedback related to those responsibilities. Perhaps you have wisdom to share with us. You've been involved many years. Maybe this is your first year, but you have some insight that you'd like to share before we move forward. So let me pause for feedback.
Nicole, this is Jackie Westcott, United Way, West Alabama. I want to thank everybody so much. And you mentioned all the events are virtual, so you can invite as many people as you want. It doesn't cost a thing. So I'm so excited about the message of CIS and grateful for the leadership there. And so please share that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Well, we certainly welcome any of your feedback and wisdom throughout the meeting. We'll have another opportunity to pause for questions and comments before we end the meeting today. We would like to continue to share with you a bit of information about the way the campaign will be structured. So, our campaign this year will consist of a mixture, and Jackie already alluded to it, a mixture of pledge cards, our traditional pledge cards that many of you are already familiar with, and a secure online system. So they will complement one another. but the majority of the contributions will likely be secured via that online system. Pledge cards were mailed to our leadership level contributors as well as to UA retirees. And so we have two colleagues on the line, Caroline and Prathema, that have been instrumental in working on this aspect of the campaign, and will share more information about both. So first, we will hear from Caroline, who is the only United Way treasurer that many of us have ever known. She always does a great job and has always been passionate in her appreciation of the work done by the United Way. And so at this time, we'll hear from her.
Well, I'd first like to say good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for taking time to join us. I'm very excited about the change that we've made, and hopefully it will be successful as we move to this new venture. To give you a little history about it, Prathema, who I'll introduce in just a moment, she and I began working last February with a group of students to improve the system that I was using to account for the United Way donations. And this summer, due to COVID and realizing that a lot of people were not on campus daily, Dr. Pruitt asked us to come up with a way to do things online. Well, we searched and were limited in what we could bring up online quickly. And then Prathema realized that we could take what we had built for me to use and alter it to be an online system for UA to use. So super lucky to have her on board to be able to make the changes we needed so quickly to be able to use this for our contributions this year. It's a basic system that we hope that over the course of the next year we'll be able to make a little more fancy, but it's very, very user-friendly, and I think everybody's going to be really happy. But having said that, we know we have a portion of the campus who I greatly appreciate that like to give cash. We still have a way for them to do that. The level ones will be sent cards to distribute down to the level twos to hand out to the employees, because I would never want anyone to feel like that they didn't have a way to give to us. We may have some employees who don't want to give through the electronic system. They can always submit a card electronically, and a card up through the system just like we normally have, and I'll enter in their pledge. Again, we want to be appreciative of any way that somebody wants to give a donation and take that, because I do realize this is new to everyone and want to be respectful. We have been getting in the cards were received the early part of the week by the leadership contributors and the retirees, and we have gotten some in. We are above $32,000 already in just a short couple of days. So everything's looking good. Like when we had the tornado, we were worried that everybody was suffering from fatigue in donating because everybody in Tuscaloosa had given so generously. And that year, UA blew it out of the water. We gave completely generously, way more than Dr. Pruitt and I worried for weeks that what we were going to do, but we gave more than I could have imagined. And I'm so very hopeful that this year will be the same, because I know, and as we all do, that there are people in West Alabama who are truly, truly hurting and need our assistance. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Prathema Gilliam. She's a staff member in OIT, and we truly would not be where we are if we didn't have her on our team. And she and I have spent hours and hours working, mostly her, but with suggestions from me to get this where we are. And she's going to kind of walk through what we have and assure everybody how it works. And I'm sure she'll give everybody time to ask questions. So Prathema?
Thank you so much, Caroline. And I appreciate all the kind words. I just started at the university late last year. Have actually worked with United Way volunteer campaigns in the past. And so I was really honored and excited to be able to lend some technology help for us as we're trying to pivot this year. I think all of us are pivoting. And so when Dr. Pruitt came to Caroline and I and asked about, how we could make this much more friendly for social distancing, this is the platform that I'm going to be showing you today. So let me share my screen. And okay. And can you see the Tide United logo? Let kindness be your story. Okay, great. Well, this platform, like Caroline said, was built off of a system that was, designed to track donations, but it is entirely self-service. So to get to this main screen, I actually had to go through Duo. So any employee that is going to use the system does have to log in through Duo, and so many of us are familiar with that. So that was something that was we really wanted to introduce here, is something that we were familiar with, something that was easy to use. And so that's just something that you as campaign coordinators should be aware of. There is a login process, but once you log in, you see the page. You can see that it's simple. There's really a start button at the bottom as we think about what we're going to do. Make your contribution to the campaign. So I'll click on Start. And once I do that, it takes me to the next page. And this page is really our primary donation place. And so we're going to see the directions at the top, and you can see that it mentions initiating the either a payroll deduction or having the amount billed to the employee by the United Way. And it also notes that employees will receive a discount card if they donate $60 or more in total. But the main thing I want you to notice here is that I, being logged in, have already gotten my name pre-filled. So everybody that logs in really will be donating on behalf of themselves. So really it's tracking, that because of my Duo login. And then I can choose to have the type of contribution, as I mentioned earlier. And if I choose payroll deduction, I can enter an amount and also the number of months. And you'll notice that both of these fields are enabled, but it won't let me enter more than I should. So I can't enter 13 months here. So we again tried to introduce some ease of use capabilities here. But once I enter the number of months, you'll also notice that the total contribution amount defaults. So there's no math that has to be done here. And I will also note that if I chose the bill, if the amount was to be billed to me, then I only can enter an amount here. And it just defaults it to 1 month. And that bill is sent, as most of you know, in January from the United Way. So that's something that the employee will receive at their location. And then the two last options on the screen are important because, as you might remember from the donation cards, you had the ability to choose agencies, and we now have the ability to choose that here. It does allow you to enter one agency. And so many of the great agencies that are available for us to donate to are listed here. Or, you can choose the default of no agency, and the United Way will take care of how that's sent out. And then the last piece is the checkbox. And I do want to make a note of this because I do think that that's something that we are looking at doing next year. As Caroline mentioned, this is a very simple platform, and we're hoping to introduce more capabilities next year. But we decided to ask a question to note if employees wanted to roll over their amount to next year's campaign. So that doesn't mean that employees won't have to go through this pledge process again. We will ask everybody to log in, but next year, what we hope to do is be able to default the amount, to the amount that they donated this year. Many employees typically do try to, keep a similar amount. So they can definitely choose that checkbox, and we will then be able to use that information for next year's campaign. Okay. And then lastly, when I click donate, and I won't do that right now because this is the live system and I'm going to do my own donation when the campaign starts. But when you click donate, an email goes out to the employee, and the email does note the amount of the contribution as well as the information that they entered as far as the per month amount and how many months that they will be donating if it's payroll deduct. And if it's a bill, it'll note that as well. Okay. And so the last thing I'll just mention is if an employee comes back in, because I sometimes I don't remember what I've done from a day-to-day basis. And so if they come back in here, they will see this screen. And so they won't have another opportunity to change their amount. But if they want to change their amount, they can then contact Community Affairs so that we can have that amount changed. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you might have.
Prathema, hey,
Sorry.
can you choose more than one agency?
At this time, you can't. That's the only thing that, unfortunately, we weren't able to introduce right away. So we're hoping to introduce that in future years, but it is just the one agency right now.
Okay.
It's a great question.
Hi, everyone. My name's Allison Payne. I am Dr. Nelson's assistant in the College of Communication and also the Level 1 and Level 2 coordinator for our college. I'm excited about this year's campaign, but and I think that the addition of the online system is just wonderful. I mean, I think it's huge. I think that you're gonna have so much success with it, but I'm also concerned about the cards. I know that they'll be available, but wanted to also ask if there was a possibility of introducing like a drive-through, a campaign packet drive-through for packet pickup, similar to years past, but it would just not be in person like in years past.
That's a great question. Dr. Pruitt, would you mind fielding that one?
Oh, absolutely. I just made a note related to the a campaign drive-through. I think that's a fantastic idea, Allison. And so if I may take that back to our leadership team, because you're right, especially during these times, perhaps some of the limited business operation in some areas, what other types of opportunities to return those printed cards can we provide? So I have made that note, and I will. We will get back to the entire group about that recommendation.
Great.
Okay. Any other questions about the online platform?
Prathema, there seems to be a question in the chat about when would the link be live?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, as of today, the link should be live, and I believe that the campaign coordinator should have access to it, but I'm not 100% sure when that's going to be sent out. Dr. Pruitt, do you know when that's sent out?
Let me unmute myself and that will help. We are certainly doing our campaign push for the kickoff as being that official time, but we're not going to limit any gifts that come before that. But the push, the kickoff is that Thursday, October 8th, a week from today, at 2 o'clock, the big official beginning of the campaign.
Great. And that's a great question too, just because as Caroline mentioned, there are donations coming in already, and we wanted the ability to go ahead and start entering some of those. And so that's why it is live as of today. Okay. Great questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And Dr. Pruitt, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Caroline, and thank you, Prathema. It's been an absolute joy to work with you behind the scenes and just watch your genius at work. Thank you for getting us to this point. Thank you to the entire team that helped to work on the secure online platform. Lots of thought and energy went into producing that, and Prathema, you've done all the heavy lifting for us. Let's continue our meeting today with our connection with the United Way of West Alabama. It is my pleasure to introduce Monique Scott, who I consider to be a great friend. We were Leadership Tuscaloosa classmates this past year, and I have just so enjoyed working with her on the campaign this year. Monique will share some information about the United Way programs and services and their efforts during the pandemic. And she'll also provide us some information about those donor reward cards that Prathema mentioned. Monique has also committed to join Zoom calls, meetings, to share information with your colleagues. So with no further ado, Monique Scott.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to join us to talk about the University of Alabama's United Way campaign. Every single year, you all are our #1 employee donor, and there is no way we'd be able to hit our goal without you all. So thank you all so much for your commitment to the West Alabama community. And we all know that COVID-19 has been a challenge to so many people. My family personally has been devastated by COVID-19. But your United Way has been on the front lines helping those who have been impacted. Back in March, our 211 information referral line, which connects people to different social service agencies in the community, the calls to our 211 helpline increased by 400%. And that led us to create the West Alabama Community Response Fund. And that was a fund that people could apply for who had been impacted financially by COVID-19. 98% of the people who we were able to support through the Community Response Fund had never reached out to United Way for support before. We were able to date, give out over $174,000 to help over 250 families, which equated to over 580 individuals. And people had to go through a very, very thorough screening before they were even able to apply. And United Way paid directly to the companies, whether someone needed help with their power bill, we paid it directly to Alabama Power, or if someone needed assistance with their mortgage, we paid the funds directly to the mortgage company. We were even able, during the COVID-19 pandemic, to help everyone and help people out in our Black Belt counties. We've given out over $80,000 in our Black Belt and rural counties. We've also given out over 6,500 face masks to people in West Alabama, as well as other things to help people who have been impacted by COVID-19. We all know that these are individuals, and many, many thousands more have been impacted, but not just individuals. Also, our partner agencies have been impacted by COVID-19. To date, our partner agencies have lost over $2.1 million in income this year. And that's from them not being able to host their normal fundraisers. Some have had to close because they help at-risk individuals, and they've lost out on grant opportunities that they would normally have. So we know we can't go back and give them those funds that they've lost, but we've set our goal again to be $4.2 million for the second year in a row, to hope that as United Way, we can be another constant for our partner agencies. The only way we'll be able to make that goal is with the support of our #1 employee donor, the University of Alabama. We know this campaign this year is going to be a little different. Of course, it may may give a few challenges or just things we may have to do differently here and there, but we know that it can be done. So we will have things available for anyone who may need assistance. As Nicole has already mentioned, I am happy. I, as well as anyone at United Way, even our partner agencies, we are so excited. If you all need us to Zoom in to any of your departmental meetings, we'll be happy to do that so that people can know exactly where their donations are going, and so people can also know what we've been doing during the pandemic. We also, as Nicole has mentioned, we will have our donor rewards card coming back again this year. It's a very popular card just for the donation of a minimum of $5 per month, which of course is $60 for the year. Even though our leadership levels start at $500, we know that people give a lot sometimes just to get the card. Hey, every dollar that we receive helps us to reach our annual goal. So if there's anything that we can do to help support the campaign this year, we're there for you all. Please let us know. When you receive your packets of materials, you will have hand sanitizers, face masks, and other things that can help to keep you safe while you're running your campaign. And again, I want to thank you all for everything that you do. But before I leave, I do want to turn it over to our president and CEO, Jackie, in case I've missed anything. We want to give her a couple of seconds to say a few words. Jackie.
Of course, Monique didn't miss anything. She's brilliant.
No.
I just want to thank y'all so much. Like Monique said, there's no way we'd make our goal or even get close to it without the University of Alabama. And we are the envy of other United Ways associated with SEC schools because of the great heart that y'all have. And please let us be a part of your departmental Zoom meeting, and we'll just take a few minutes and say thank you. And this is what you'll use, how we'll use the funds. We found that when we can speak to a group, giving goes up at least by 18%. And so, folks just want to know how the funds are being used. And again, these virtual events that are coming up, the Kickoff Event, October 8th, it's going to be wonderful. So please share it with as many folks as you can. Whether one person watches it or 10,000, it's the same cost. So let's see the great work that our leaders at CIS are doing. Thank you.
Jackie and Monique, we thank you so much for your leadership. We look forward to a wonderful campaign, and the two of you just embody the just a kind and caring spirit and an enthusiasm that's catching. And we have caught that same enthusiasm, and we're excited about this year's campaign. And so thank you so much. Monique mentioned that bags have been packaged for you, and those items are available for pickup in room 250 in Rose. And we'll share this information out later. If we need to make special arrangements, we can absolutely do that, but we'll share that information. That's where they are being housed. The reporting dates for the campaign this year, we just want to make a couple of notes before we begin to conclude today's meeting. We plan to provide a few dates throughout the campaign where we will provide reports. So those dates are on the screen: October 16th, the 23rd, the 30th, and November 6th. We plan to share weekly reports with the level 1 coordinators, and we will send fun and interesting emails out to the campus throughout the campaign, so that you can share that information and everyone is up to date related to where we are with the campaign. With that being said, before we conclude today's meeting, we want to take one more intentional pause to see if you have any questions or comments or wisdom for the group.
Thank you, Dr. Pruitt.
Thank you, Jackie.
Dr. Pruitt, if I may, I want to also remind folks that the kickoff event on the 8th at 2 o'clock, it's going to look and feel a little different this year because, as with most things, we're having to adapt. Normally, we would have you in the space and we would be all rah-rah, but this year we're trying to capitalize on the idea that we're using technology to bring us together. So Lynn and I will be hosting sort of a special newscast where we're going to be sharing different stories from around the community. You'll be able to hear from different coordinators, and it will likely exist on a Facebook style platform in which you'll be able to share that across with your different communities, so it'll exist beyond just the time frame that you're going to see it. So as you engage with that piece of content, please share that. You know, if you share that to one other person, they share that to one other person, we exponentially grow. But I want everyone to understand what they can expect to encounter during that event on the next Thursday at 2 o'clock.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Adam, for that information. And thank you to each of you for your participation on the call today and your willingness to serve to help the University of Alabama to meet our United Way goal so that so many of our neighbors will continue to have the United Way programs and services available to them. We'd like to remind you of those 2 important dates of our virtual kickoff that will take place next Thursday, October 8th from 2 to 3 p.m. and our virtual campus celebration on November 19th. As we conclude today's meeting, we thank you for your time. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day, and roll tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Oh.
Thank you.
Roll.